Hey guys, Car197 again. This time with a review of the 144 scale high-grade Universal Century Gym Ground Type from the 08th MS Team OVA series. When it comes to the looks, this thing absolutely rocks. The combination of a very light tan with orange really emphasizes this thing's ground pounder attitude. Add to that gray for some really cool little details, such as the spikes right there, which weren't even molded in color on the high-grade 12th Century Ground Gundam, which was amazing for its time. And then of course we also have the translucent green for the visor, really cool looking. And overall this thing is almost completely color accurate, with only two exceptions. One is, as always, the ground shield doesn't have the bar molded in gray. Would have been cool, considering they did little details like the spikes on the legs, but so be it. And then one thing, the only downer about the looks, the chest fans. They're molded all in gray. Now, the thing about it is they should have just molded them in the light tan color so you could easily paint them, or you just had to apply a sticker that went in there. Now we get a tan sticker that goes around it. Not the best setup. For other stickers we get gray in there at the bottom of the legs. Then we have a bunch of triangles. One goes on there and then one on each side of the legs. Now the cool thing about these is these symbols are also molded into the plastic. So if you want to paint them, you can very easily paint them on there. Then we have shiny red for the scopes of the net gun and also the bazooka that we're getting, and this thing also has some green shining right there. Of course we also get some cool green stickers for the sensors at the front and one at the back. Of course, no mass production unit is complete without marking stickers. Unfortunately, we only get a bunch of numbers and no Earth Federation symbols, no Earth Federation ground force, no nothing. That would have been really cool. Even the old high-grade gym ground type had at least one or two Earth Federation symbols. But to end the looks on a good note, the detail on this thing and also the hiding of the seam lines is absolutely perfect on this thing. No seam line to be spotted whatsoever, except here on the leg, which is there for a reason. Other than that, they're all perfectly hidden away in the panel lines. They did an amazing job on here. And if you look really close, you'll also see that there's one right there on the head. But that is everything. On to articulation. The head goes a bit down, bit up, little bit forwards and backwards, rotates around all the way on that ball joint, wiggles around, and the arms go forwards nicely on both the hinge joint and on the ball joint, backwards a little bit, wiggle around on that ball joint, go up about that far, and then on another hinge up about that far. We'll rotate around all the way, bend at the elbow at two joints as far as they can go. The hands are a pretty unique design this time around. We have the usual ball joints, wiggle around, turn around, do everything a ball joint does, but then they're on an extra hinge right there. And that's some really cool mechanical design. Not only does it add some articulation, but also adds to the color separation. The only downside is that I've noticed that it's very easy to get this part stretched. I just removed the hand, swapped it out with the open palm hand, and I already got a stretch mark. So it's really cool. Just be careful with those hands. Talking about something really cool, the chest goes really far forwards, really far. And then even more when we combine it with the bottom ball joint. That's some really cool movement. Backwards, not quite as much. You just gotta be careful to get the back in there. There we go. Backwards, just on the single ball joint, we'll wiggle around side to side on that bottom ball joint, rotate around all the way. Once you extend it a bit, there we go. And now you might notice that these two parts seem like they're separate. They kind of are, but they kind of aren't. There isn't a separate joint between them, so the only movement they're going to do is you'll see that, you know, they kind of give it a more mechanical feel when you're moving it side to side, but there's no separate ball joint or hinge joint between them to enhance the articulation forwards, backwards, or sideways in any way whatsoever. Back skirt, not going to move. Front skirt, as always, molded together, but can be separated and turned into ball joints. Legs go forwards really nicely like that, backwards about that far, still giving us a pretty damn good split. Legs go outwards really, really far. We'll rotate about that far. Back in there they have the usual jig joint for just that little bit extra articulation. Knees double jointed all the way. And the feet go forwards on a hinge joint and also on a little ball joint. Backwards, same story. We'll rotate around all the way on that ball joint, side to side on the ball joint. Not quite as far as some other kits we've seen in recent days, because that hinge joint, for some reason they decided not to allow it to move side to side. So side-to-side movement is only on the ball joint, unfortunately. This moves up, revealing some nice mechanical detail. What we do have, however, is a toe joint. A little bit up, not down, unfortunately. But still, this thing can pull off some really good moves. Overall, the articulation does an amazing job. Sure, a few hiccups here and there, something that could have been slightly better, but if you can pull off a crouching pose like this, you know you did an amazing job. On to accessories, and what better way to show off the pose than with the net gun. Now at first I wasn't a huge fan of this thing, because why would you want to carry around a huge single shot weapon that, you know, maybe captures one Zaku, rather than having a weapon that's capable of destroying and disabling a bunch of Zakus. But then you realize that, well, at this point in the war, well, when these guys would be fielded, the Federation didn't have that many mobile suits yet, so they probably wanted to capture as many mobile suits as they could for both research purposes and actually using them. Zaku's, gotta catch them all. And to make aiming this thing easier, both of the handles do move around. Unfortunately, this is not on a movable ring like we sometimes see with bazookas, meaning that for all intents and purposes, it's just going to go onto the right hand, being held by the left hand on this extra thing. The weapons that, however, aren't limited to just the right hand are both the bazooka and the machine gun. Because the good news here is that no dedicated trigger finger hand whatsoever is needed to hold on to these weapons. So they fit absolutely perfectly in both the right and the left hand. And fit perfectly, they do. But now, what if you want to hold on to the machine gun with both hands, but you still want to have the bazooka on you? Well, this thing right here is the solution. There we go. All we gotta do is remove this panel and click it on there. And while we're looking at the bazooka, the handle will also go up and down slightly, once again to make aiming easier. And you can also remove the ammo clip if you'd want to. Unfortunately, we do not get any spares. Turning it around, he's able to hold on to the machine gun with both hands absolutely perfectly thanks to that articulation. Another thing that moves on the machine gun is, of course, the stock, which can be stored or extended. Now, onto the ammo clip here. Say that you're running out of ammo. What you gonna do? You can simply grab onto it with the open palm hand. The good news here is that all three ammo packs are identical. So if you, for some reason, would lose the one that's on the gun, you can simply grab one from the pouches and pretend that that was totally planned and that you just wanted to make it look like he used one up. For close combat, we get one beam saber in each leg in these pouches. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky to remove, but hey, On the inside, they're very nicely detailed as well. Some painting will be required to make them look perfect. But what is absolutely perfect straight out of the box is the length of those beam saber blades, of which we of course get 2. Then the final accessory that we're getting is the shield. A shield with a lot of uses and functionality. For starters, it serves as a shield. Now simply peg this peg into either of the holes on the arms. This will allow it to rotate around, and you can also put it in 2 positions. Just the regular position like this, or you can also extend it. And now your shield becomes, slightly more viable as a weapon, because of course we have that pointed ending, giving it our second option. Then the third option is of course using it as a kind of shovel, because digging in, you've got a giant mobile suit, you're probably going to want to use a giant shovel with this. The one thing, this can be kind of easy to detach from there, but in general it's not going to be too big of an issue. And then the final use of our shield, when we extend this bipod, there we go. And this is where that kneeling pose once again comes into play. Now, some of you might be aware that, this is not really the weapon that shield should be used for, at least not in that pose. Some of you might be aware that it's supposed to be used with the cannon, which is of course not included with this set. I'm sure some of you are also wondering if it's compatible. Well, he can most definitely hold on to that thing. And I'm sure there's one more accessory a lot of people are wondering about, if he can hold on to it. And with a few modifications, the answer is once again a resounding yes. Now this is a sniper rifle from the White Dingo Gym Sniper 2 version, and what you have to do here is that the sniper rifle's handle has that peg that slots into the hand that you're gonna have to cut away. The other available sniper rifle is of course this one here that you get with the old high-grade Gym Sniper. The thing you have to do here is slightly cut away at the handle, because the handle is too wide for the hands, but if you cut away enough, they'll fit into the hands absolutely perfectly, which means that you can also use this sniper rifle. Now, I do not have the system weapons sniper rifle, but since the White Dingo version fits absolutely perfectly once you remove that peg, I'm going to say that the system weapon set should also work just fine on this thing. And the last weapon I'm very happy to announce is a perfect fit, is the missile launcher. The missile launcher that you get with either the high-grade Gym Ground type or the high-grade Gym Sniper. Absolutely one of my favorite weapons of all time. It just works so great as a secondary weapon, and was also a lot of fun to use back in the day in Gundam Federation vs. Zeon. However, there is one more thing that is compatible with this unit. Now, in the Ground War set with the Ground Gundam and the hover trucks, we also got 2 Gym Ground type heads. And they could be used either with the Gundam Ground type or with the old high-grade Gym Ground types to make them look slightly more modern. And as you can see, they actually go very well on the new Gym Ground type. The only difference is that the color is ever so slightly different. The head is just slightly darker than the rest of the body. However, at a distance, even a very small distance, it's really not that noticeable. So if you prefer this head over the one that's included, that is, very different, that is an option. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? For 1,500 yen? Absolutely. It seems like the year of the gym is off to a great start. With this thing, you're getting a huge arsenal of weapons, great articulation, and absolutely a phenomenal looking machine. And with only a few minor nitpicks, this thing in general is just so great for what you're paying. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck here. If you're a fan of the gym, if you're a fan of grunt types in general, or you just like the more realistic, down-to-earth machines, the gym ground type is absolutely the machine for you. Also in general, if you're just a fan of the Federation during the 1-year war, once again, a machine you should absolutely get. You get so much weapons, it's an arsenal to pass around. Give the bazooka to another gym, give the net gun to something. I mean, just so much options out there. A great mobile suit in and of itself, and an even better model kit of it. And really, even though there was the old one, it really needed an upgrade. And I know I always do this kind of thing. Compare the old one to the newer one. Which one is better? Now, sometimes there is an argument for the old one. In this case, however, it seems like, I guess what we could call the revived version, absolutely blows the old one out of the water. Now, there is still a reason to get the old one as well. I by no means would recommend getting the old one instead of it, but I would recommend buying both of them, because the old one, for 800 yen, keep in mind, is still an amazing deal. The old one comes with the missile launcher that this one does not have. It also comes with the bazooka and the machine gun, and then also two beam sabers. Not quite as sturdy on his legs anymore. And when you look at it as a weapon set, the old one is still amazing. Did I mention the missile launcher? Did I mention that the missile launcher does not come with this set? And did I mention that the missile launcher looks absolutely great on absolutely everything? So, yeah. Maybe I wouldn't really say get the gym ground type, but get the missile launcher. It comes with a free gym. Then for size comparisons, first of all, here is next to the Gundam ground type, the high-grade 12th century version, and the old high-grade ground gym. The first thing you'll notice is that the old high-grade is significantly taller than the modern high-grade 12th century version. The good news is the high-grade 12th century obviously nailed the size. If you put him next to the ground Gundam as well. For some reason, the old high-grade was significantly oversized, even compared to other models from the same line. Talking about units from the same series, here is next to the MS-06 JC Zaku 2 ground type and the Goof fly type. Two units I picked by pure coincidence, and absolutely not because I think that they would make absolute great revives. Get on it, Bandai. And finally, here is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And that's all for this review, and see you all next time.